DW Africa Link.
What makes someone take a journey knowing it could be their last on earth? Every year, hundreds of Gambians lose their lives attempting to reach Europe through irregular migration routes. And yet, the numbers keep rising. More and more people, especially young Gambians, are still leaving. So what's influencing this dangerous decision?
One is the economic and social factor. Two is the peer influence. And three, in fact, it's also the community pressure.
We have more on this shortly. Please stay tuned. I am Ajua Tenkrama Domina, and you're welcome to Africa Link, the podcast that connects you to the stories that matter.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
Nearly half of Africa's young people say they have at some point considered leaving the continent. Now, while the reasons may vary from country to country, in the Gambia, many cite economic hardship, unemployment, and the search for better education and opportunities. But when this desire turns into irregular migration, the consequences can be deadly. Each year, an estimated 800 Gambians lose their lives on these journeys. Despite repeated interventions by authorities to curb irregular migration, the trend persists. Gambian authorities recently intercepted more than 780 migrants at 3 separate locations, all attempting to make the journey to Europe. Shortly after, Senegalese authorities rescued 61 migrants who are set off from the Gambia on a boat bound for Europe. Unfortunately, 1 migrant drowned. So how can the Gambia address this increasing irregular migration trend? Joining me now for this discussion are migration specialist and lecturer Mustafa Sonko, as well as DW correspondent in the Gambia, Aminata Sanyan. Welcome to the both of you. Aminata, let me begin with you. What has been the trend, in terms of Gambian migrants getting lost and even dying at sea? Has there been an increase or a decrease in the trend?
Thank you very much. In recent years, we've seen a significant number of people, young people especially, embarking on the irregular migration to Europe. It has been a trend in the Gambia, but over the years, we've seen a significant number, especially in 2025. We've seen what we've not witnessed before, having young people constantly embarking on the journey, despite, having their boat sinking. In the past weeks, we've seen boat accidents, but despite that, we thought that would actually trigger fear among young people. But weeks later, we received the news that more young people are embarking on this journey. And that begs the question, is fear really a deterrent? Will fear actually pull back the young people from embarking on this journey? But then the conversation around poverty, and of course, looking at the aspect of social media. Over the years, we've seen this trend. Young people, Gambian young people, are avid social media users. And when they embark on this journey, what they do is to do vlogs, record the journey. They post these videos, boasting, oh, we've made it. The journey was easy. Who said we wouldn't make it?
These people are people who went through irregular means, correct?
Very well. So most of them are social media influencers. And when we look at their influence online, they have a good following. So when they record some of these videos, post it on TikTok. This is a trend, like I mentioned earlier. It has been a trend in the Gambia where you have, our young people will travel to Europe, post very fancy pictures, wearing fancy clothes, or be around nice buildings, around nice cars, and post it on Facebook. But now you have more young people, you have more platforms, you have Instagram, you have TikTok now. And after that, an influencer did that. Within months, you have like hundreds of young people who embarked on the journey.
Mustafa, let me bring you in at this point. When you look at the trend, what stands out to you the most? Is it the reasons people are moving? Is it the desperation that Aminata has, hinted at, or is it the routes that people are using? What stands out to you the most, Mustafa?
I think this is actually a very important question because there has been a lot of campaign going on before now. And what stands out for me most is not just the skill, but in terms of the persistence and normalization of the irregular migration route, despite the so many campaign and then loss of life. This is actually scary because you have a lot of young people living, even though they know that the irregular migration is dangerous. Some of them lost relatives, some of them lost their friends, some of them embarked on the same journey and they have gone through a lot where they were beaten, tortured, jailed, and then they were assisted to come back. But these young people are still interested in going back. And then for me, right now, the routes have become more fragmented and risky, with smugglers adopting quick to reinforcement enforcement measures because since they know that it is easier to leave the Gambia without facing a lot of problem or a lot of hurdles because the Gambia is situated at the mount of the river and then it becomes easier for these smugglers to transport the migrants and then it becomes a hub.
But when you say it is easy, let's compare the trend of people getting lost or dying at sea to people actually succeeding. What is the difference? Which one outweighs the other?
Is difficult because even statistic, it is very difficult. The government of the Gambia finds it difficult to actually know the number of people that enter. But looking at it, the number of people that are returned, that are unable to make it to Europe, I think outweighs the number of people that entered Europe because week in, week out, we receive reports of young people who want to return to the Gambia, either from Algeria, Mauritania, Libya, and this is done through the assisted voluntary return by the International Organization for Migration. Many of them are coming back. And then this is why I say what stands out for me is the scale, even though they face all these problems, but the young people are still willing to go because even the deaths, they are aware of the deaths. And then this brings us to a very critical issue when these migrant boats, some of them were intercepted, some of them die in the sea. The following day, there was media conference, and while the authorities are in the conference, another boat also left and then it was intercepted. So it is actually crazy. The statistics are there. The number of people that are intercepted are more than the number of people that are making it. But what these people do is just to calculate the number of people that there and then the number of people that make it. And once one boat actually make it to Europe, they easily forget about all the troubles that other people go through.
Interesting. That could be one of the reasons why people are still going despite the evidence that it's very easy for you to die at sea, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I think that's where the campaign falls short because the European Union campaign is hinged on three things. That is number one, irregular migration is dangerous. Please stay at home. Number two, there are a lot of opportunities in the Gambia. You can stay there. And then number three, don't come to Europe. Europe is very difficult. But what these young people will give or will respond to this 3 points. Number one, that says irregular migration is dangerous, stay at home. These people know that irregular migration is dangerous. There has been a lot of campaign, just like I told you. Some of them lost their friends, some of them embark on this journey. So to tell them that it's dangerous, they understand it's dangerous and they are willing. The second point is you ask them to stay at home because you have a lot of opportunities at home. But these young people are not seeing these opportunities because recent survey shows that more than 43% of the Gambian youth are out of employment or out of skill. So therefore, they don't see those opportunities. The last one is don't come to Europe. Europe is difficult. But these young people know very well that, in fact, they will tell you no matter how difficult Europe is, it cannot be compared to the Gambia. So
they are always aware of the risk, but they will still go for reasons that you have mentioned. Aminata, let me come to you on this point. Have you seen any efforts by the government or authorities to, liaise with community heads to tackle this so far?
Government will always say we are working closely with various communities to tackle this particular issue, but they also say they're intensifying efforts to address irregular migration through, a combination of prevention, enforcement, and, international cooperation. But also this includes, like they said, enhanced coastal patrols, as well as intervention by immigration and police who have intercepted migration boats on several occasions. We've seen that. That alone is not helping the situation. When it comes to this aspect, if we have to talk about these areas, job creation, that will not solve the situation. Now the government, according to the authorities, they're working closely with these, communities to curb the situation.
Right. Let me bring in Mustafa now. Since you have worked or work with the National Youth Council, you'd be in a better position to tell us whether or not the efforts by government to, one, create jobs is enough to keep these young people in the Gambia.
So to contextualize the issue of migration, especially irregular migration from the Gambia, we need to understand that in the Gambia, migration itself is seen as a rite of passage. And then it is highly influenced by the social network theory, where there is a lot of expectation from the male kids, even though right now there is a shift where we have young females actually venturing into this route. And then this makes it difficult to even convince these young people that they could actually make it. It is also important to know that most of the people also living through this irregular route are not living because they are unemployed. It has to do with their mindset. But unemployment is also a contributing factor. As I told you last time, more than 43 to 47% of the young people of this country are either out of job or out of skill. So the government is aware of that, and they have rolled out plans to make sure that these young people stay. But
what are these plans that have been rolled out, and are they working?
With regard to what the government is doing to make sure that the young people stay in this country is to through the youth empowerment project that they call YEP, though it has phased out, but the government is spending money to making sure that young people are trained on skills so that when they leave after the training, they will not necessarily be job seekers, but they will be people who will create jobs for others and also employ themselves. They did this through the Ministry of Youth and Sport. They have the National Enterprise Development Initiative, where young people are trained and then they are given grants and others are helped to secure soft loans to start their business.
Why are they not translating to the needed jobs on the ground?
That's where the problem lies, a mismatch between skills and then what happens on the ground, because a lot of these young people will receive this training. In the end, to get money to start their business becomes a problem. Some of them go into poultry, but you will realize that they couldn't compete with those people who export or those people who have large scale, because this is small scale. The feeds are expensive. Some of the feeds are coming from Senegal, and then it becomes difficult for them to compete even within the local market, because the local market is being inundated with a lot of foreign goods. So it becomes difficult, even though the policies are there. But sometimes before the money gets to these beneficiaries, it is always a problem. It's just a little money that will not be able to help them or alleviate them from poverty.
Right.
And this is where the problem lies, even with this initiative. Yeah.
Where do you think authorities can begin tackling this issue of irregular migration from?
That looks like a simple question, but it also one of the most challenging question for migration specialists in this country to answer. Because like I told you, it is not only the issue of economic, but one of the things that the government should try to address is to call for an honest dialogue with all the stakeholders, the opposition, the religious leaders, to talk about irregular migration, because even whereas the jobs are created, these young people will believe that those jobs will not be able to take care of their needs. In terms of the wage differential, the wage differential is a contributing factor. These young people are working, but they leave because of the wage differential, the dual labor theory, because they believe that when they are in Europe, they earn far better than when they are in the Gambia. And this is an open secret. We've seen a government official or an elected councillor who traveled to Brussels and then absconded. What could explain that is the wage differential, because he understands that as a councillor, what he earns cannot be compared to what he will earn when he is in Europe, even whereas he is cleaning. A lot of these young people understand that you could work here as a high ranking government official, and then you are paid less than 500 euros a month. And then you go to Europe, you do a cleaning job, and then you are paid 1,500 euros. So this actually rings a bell. So one of the things that the government should address is the wage differential, even whereas you create jobs and those jobs are not paying, these young people will leave. And it's across the sector. These people who venture into irregular migration are not only jobless, but you have security personnel in them. You have trained nurse in them. You have trained teachers in them. So it's not an issue of unemployment, but an issue of wage differential, that you are paid, you could not take care of your family, and therefore this force a lot of young people, not only young people, but even the elderly, to actually use the irregular route.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aminata, let me come to you, because you have been speaking to some of these people. What they are saying, is it resonating with what Mustafa has just told us?
Yes, all these points he highlighted definitely resonate very well. Personally, I know of a young person who embarked on the journey and lost his life. He was a tailor who had a big shop with, he employed about 5 young people who were working under him, and he was doing very well. So when I learned about, this particular incident, I asked myself this question: is employment an issue with him? Because he was definitely earning money. But then that also begs this question about young people being enticed by Europe.
Mustafa, from what Aminata has said, the reasons that people are traveling may be bigger than issues of unemployment or job creation or inability to start business and all of that. Do you agree with calls that regularizing migration, could tackle the issue of using the back door and ending up losing your life?
I think I agree with Aminata. In fact, I was just going to say, the focus is on employment here and there, but one of the elephant in the room on the side of the government will be the lack of anti-smuggling law in the Gambia. And then this has helped smugglers to smuggle a lot of people. In other countries, smuggling is criminal, but in the Gambia, it is not yet criminal. The only thing that the government could do, or the police or the immigration could do, is to charge you something close to criminalizing irregular, how do I call it, smuggling, because the laws are not yet ratified. I think it is still at the cabinet to make sure that this actually comes and then become a law. And then the other thing that Aminata said is which is actually a misconception. These pregnant women going thinking that when they get to Europe, they deliver, their kids will become Europeans. That is actually false. It's actually false, because most of the European countries, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Germany, you don't get citizenship by birth. It's either one of your parents must be a citizen. And you have a lot of Gambians who,
for a while.
Exactly, a lot of Gambians who don't understand this. And then the entire Europe is swept by the populist parties, where immigration laws are not made based on evidence-based, but all of them are politicized.
Have you ever wanted to travel to Europe before through some of these irregular means? I mean, growing up or in school or anywhere?
For me, it never occurred to me personally. So, yeah, it never occurred to me all
Are
my
you
time.
sure?
But yes, I am so. I am so. Even though sometimes the kitchen become hot, and then you want to contemplate. But one of the things that never
so
crossed
you
my mind.
contemplated? Or you
Yeah,
want
a
to
bit, because. But that was those days because of the peer influence. Yeah, but I've seen how it looks like during my studies in Sweden. So yeah, it is what
interesting. I mean, Arthur, have you also been influenced by your peers to contemplate this?
First of all, I am really, I have fears of, the ocean. So I would definitely will never, ever think about embarking on the journey, because I mean, I can't survive it. by looking at the water alone, fear will definitely devour me. So I've never thought about embarking on the journey. So,
but I mean, even if not the irregular one, you've thought about the regular migration, no?
The regular migration? No.
Hey, are you sure?
Never. I'm sure I will never.
Maybe Aminata did not hear you properly. I'm not sure Aminata heard you well. I'm not sure. I can bet my life. Aminata would not have said that.
Probably I missed the question. Come again. Probably I missed it.
I'm asking whether or not you've ever contemplated migrating from the Gambia. That's a simple question.
Oh. Yes. Yes. There was a time that I actually, in fact, this happens often, especially, when you're struggling with certain things. Like you think about, can't I migrate from the Gambia?
Most definitely.
Like, that's like 100% thing for me. Time to time, I think about that, that I want to migrate from the Gambia. But usually when I travel and I am usually homesick, I was like, can I migrate from the Gambia? Because this is a country I know, this is where I grew up, a country that I am used to. But you are actually shoved in a situation where you want to leave the country, especially when you face challenges that you can't, overcome. You think about leaving the country. If I were to embark on the journey, I want to think about only getting to Spain or getting to Italy, but I'll think about how about if I get to Italy? Would I, obtain all these desires that actually, enticed me to embark on the journey? And then I know that I would not easily obtain that lifestyle. So I want to embark on the journey. And I think most of these young people should think about that. It's not about getting on the journey and then getting to Spain. It's about the life after you getting to Spain.
That's a good point to end the conversation on. Thank you so much. Aminata Sanyan is our correspondent in the Gambia. You also heard Mustafa Sonko. He is a migration specialist as well as a lecturer in migration. Thank you both for your time.
It's a pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you for having us.
You've heard from our experts and our correspondents. Now it's time to hear from the people on the ground. What do Gambians think about this issue?
Many factors are driving this illegal migration in the Gambia. One is the economic and social factor. Two is the peer influence. And three, in fact, it's also the community pressure. Because we all know that communities also play an important role in this illegal migration, because they're the one mostly mobilizing resources and funding to give to these people to go to this generous journey.
How much will you earn in a month that will be able to keep your family sustenance? If you are earning 5,000, this is something that cannot take your family for a whole month. And if you're a young person who is responsible, you having a lot of mismatch at the end of every month, your resources at hand and your needs are not corresponding, this can really trigger a lot of pressure on a lot of our young people.
Sometimes the government will say there are opportunities, but yes, but are these opportunities decent? When you look at the average or let's say a basic salary in the Gambia, sometimes some of these young people, when they are employed and they are paid their salary, it cannot even cover their transportation costs. If you want to encourage young people to go into agriculture, one issue they face is access to land. We all know our land system that we have in the Gambia is difficult for young people, especially young women, to access land for agriculture. The interest rates are high. It should be the responsibility of every Gambian to ensure that our young people stay and they don't take the risk. The relevant authorities need to be capacitated. Even if we have the economic situation or the opportunities that we are asking for, there will still be people that will try to attempt to use that way.
You have some Gambians sharing their thoughts about irregular migration. Migration is a dream for many, but how you undertake it matters. While some experts argue that African governments must do more to create opportunities at home and make staying attractive, others believe that expanding safer, legal, and more accessible migration pathways could reduce irregular migration and prevent the loss of lives. If you've been affected by migration or have ideas to share, Don't hesitate to share them with us on Facebook at DW Africa. Listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And subscribe to our DW Africa's YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. This show was co-produced and edited by Eddie Micah Jr. I am Ajua Tinkrama Domina. Many thanks for listening.
DW, made for minds.